Throughout the first half of 2024, I have seen 82 films. Most were just okay, some were downright horrible, and some made me question what the fuck I did in my life to lead me to watching it. But within the riffraff, a few gems are found. Here are the best films that I've seen for the first half of 2024. First up, we have I Love You Man, which is a comedy movie from 2009, I'm pretty sure. The movie stars Paul Rudd and Jason Segel. In this movie, Paul Rudd is a man who's about to get married, and he is an absolute loser, most people would say. He has no friends, and so he just hangs around with his fiance and her friend. They just kind of feel bad for him, and it's just like really awkward every time. And so he goes out on a quest to find a best friend so he can have a best man. And throughout that, he meets Jason Segel, and they become close, and they become best friends. This movie is absolutely hilarious. It's so funny. It's so much fun. It's like awkward, but it's a pleasant awkwardness, I would say. Yeah. Paul Rudd is fantastic in this. Jason Segel, fantastic. Andy Samberg is in it. Andy Samberg plays Paul Rudd's gay gym bro brother. That's definitely a big part of the movie. Really, really great. I would say that Jason Segel in this movie really changed my life, because they had this man walking around and he was wearing cardigans, shorts, Ugg boots, scarves. He was driving a Vespa, and he had no drive or thirst for anything in life, and they somehow convinced me that that was the sexiest man alive. And I just think that's really crazy. I think that's really crazy, because how did they do that? I don't think I did it on purpose. I think that it's just like a me problem. I live for a good bromance movie, but it's like they actually talk about their feelings, and they're like, oh, like, I love you. Like, it's sweet. The second movie that I watched in January was Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. As you can see, I was on my comedy kick. I was in my Andy Samberg vibe. And so I watched Popstar, finally. I'd wanted to watch it for so long, and I finally did it. So hilarious. So Popstar is a comedy movie starring the Lonely Island comedy trio. They were in a boy band together, but then Andy Samberg went solo, and now he's having a thriving solo career, and you know, his guys, he kind of left them in the sand. It's like a mockumentary vibe, so I think that only adds to the awkwardness and the like, what the hell is going on here, because there's numerous times in the movie where I laughed out loud sheerly out of the absurdity of what was going on, and thinking about how just embarrassing it would be if it happened in real life. It was definitely an experience. The songs in this movie are way too good. The songs in this movie are way too good, because what do you mean that you have me over here listening to a song about I can't even say. What are some highlights? Equal Rights, the Equal Rights song with Pink. Yes, that's good. That should be on your Pride Month playlist. You should be listening to that on repeat every single day. Incredible Thoughts. That's a good one too. That's a great one. Incredible Thoughts is good. Like, that's actually like that's a good song. It's a good song. Finest Girl. Wait. Oh, that song's really crazy. I'm actually at a loss for words every single time I think about it. And I think that it's crazy that it's a bop too. Next up, we have Bad Words. So this is a movie starring Jason Bateman, and he is a grown man who enters a elementary school spelling bee. He goes and he competes in the spelling bee, and it's like this big deal. Like, he has to go, he has to win, and he's beating these kids, and he's like tricking them and like setting the kids up to like get all the competition out of the way, because he has to win the spelling bee. And he makes a friend, this little kid played by Rohan Chand, and they're competing against each other, but they become friends. So it's like, oh, what's gonna happen with that? It is very crude a lot of the time, but it also is really heartwarming as well. So it gives you a lot of different feelings, and which is why I think that it's such an interesting movie to watch, because like, I laughed, I cried, I laughed some more, I cried again. I sat there and I contemplated my own life. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on right now? It was good, and it's like, it's just so soft. Like, you just get all the feels, and it fills you with joy by the end of it. And I think that it's really beautiful. I think that it's so cute, and I would recommend it to anybody. The first, like, well, all of it is kind of like, you're like, oh, like, that's kind of crazy, but It's good though. There's like the moments, it's the back and forth that has the perfect balance of like, well, we're kind of treading the line here on the comedy department, and then like, aw, it's cute. It's cute. I think that the big theme at the beginning of the year for me in the movies that I'm watching, I think at the end of the year too, big theme was male friendships. I was watching a lot of movies about male friendships. I don't know anything about that, so maybe that's why. Maybe it was entertaining for me. 2 Weeks Notice is a rom-com, and it stars Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant. And Sandra Bullock is this activist attorney, and Hugh Grant is like a multi-billionaire. He like owns a company, and he needs her to be his personal attorney, but she ends up being more of like a personal assistant to him, because he's just calling her like, oh, what outfit should I wear? Oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And it's stuff that's completely out of what her jurisdiction should be as his attorney. He's so annoying. He's so irritating. He's a brat. He's a baby. It's so bad. But they fall in love, you know? It's a rom-com, of course they do. This is the first time I've ever seen a Hugh Grant rom-com, and I knew already that he was like the rom-com guy, but I've never seen a Hugh Grant movie until this one. I get it. I understand. I get it. Sandra Bullock is beautiful in this movie. She's so pretty. She's so stunning, so gorgeous. I think this movie unfolded in a really nice way. I would say that it starts kind of slow, and the actual romance part of it doesn't come until much later in the movie, but the slow build-up of everything and the story building really contributes to why this movie is so good. And they have me invested. Like, I fell in love with the characters individually before I fell in love with them together as a couple, and I think that is actually, that's a really cool thing. I think that is something that more movies should do, because I want to know who these people are before you just like throw the relationship in my face. I cried so much watching this movie. Like, the last 30 minutes I was just bawling my eyes out. It actually was getting really crazy. It was hitting hard. I was like, oh my god. It was so cute. Also, I was upset, and I was like I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's like, it's a rom-com, so you know that they're gonna like end up together and be happy. But I had like, there was a moment where I was like, what if they don't? What if they don't? And that scared me. And there's like this running sequence in the movie where Sandra Bullock is ordering Chinese food, and she'll like call and she'll order like 5 different meals, and the people who work at the Chinese food shop on the other line, they're like, oh, is this for 2 people? She's like, no, just for me. They're like, oh, dinner for 2? She said, no, dinner for 1. She's like so lonely, and she's eating all this food, but then at the end of the movie she orders a bunch of stuff, and it's dinner for 2. It's dinner for 2. It's dinner for 2. In March, I finally watched Penelope, which I think if I'm recalling correctly, as a child I've seen it before, but I didn't retain any of it. So Penelope is about this girl, and she's born with a pig snout and a pig's ears, and her curse, like the curse of like the pig snout and the pig's ears, can only be broken when she marries a man who truly loves her for her. So her mom is so upset that her daughter has this pig nose, and she's like been trying to like scout and find a husband for her, and they keep making her meet up with all these guys. She like talks to them through a wall, and then when she comes and reveals herself, they all leave like scared. They're like, oh my god, no, the girl's a pig. I was not expecting to run into young James McAvoy in this movie, but he plays the main love interest for Penelope, and he's the first person that sees her that is okay with her, and he accepts her. I went into this thinking that this movie was just about like romance, that it was a romance movie, but no. This movie is actually about self-acceptance and like the process of Penelope growing up and learning how to be independent. So they added on a lot more than I thought that they would, and I think that made it so much better. Like, I think that the romance is really on the back burner for after the first like 40 minutes of the movie. It was not a romance movie anymore. It was about Penelope, and she was learning her self-love, and she was doing all her things, and I'm happy for her. This movie is so charming. The setting and like the style and the flow of the film overall, it was just cute. I was just like, oh, I like this. And this movie sent me deep into my James McAvoy feels, because after that I went and I rewatched X-Men First Class. I was over here watching Split. I watched 2 episodes of UK Shameless for the first time just because I wanted to see James McAvoy. It was bad. It was a problem. And I like that the movie didn't like wrap up perfectly in a bow like you would assume a kids movie to. It really was like real. Certain characters, like Penelope's mom, not really changing their ways ever. People have consequences for things that they do, and some people just don't change, and that's real. Penelope, you were real. Okay, in April I watched Wild Things, which To say that it was wild maybe is an understatement, actually. This is maybe one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I didn't know what I was going into watching this movie because it was much, much more than I thought. But basically, it's Matt Dillon, and he is a teacher, or like a counselor. He's a counselor at a school, and he gets accused of SA by Denise Richards' character. But watching it, well, like watching the first half of it, you know that he didn't do it, you know that she's lying, but the reasons why she's lying, it gets kind of crazy. And then Neve Campbell comes and she gets like interwoven in the plot, and then it just gets crazy. But watching this movie, it feels like you're watching 3 different movies. The tone is different in each part. I would say there's a different feeling for each portion of the movie. There's so much going on, and then when you think that it's going to slow down, like you think at a certain point, oh, the movie should be over now, you see that you still have like an hour and a half left, and you're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen in this next hour and a half? You couldn't even imagine it. You couldn't even imagine it. I was on a 90s thriller kick after I watched Fear. Fear was crazy. Fear made me nauseous. That was like 10 billion times worse than this, because it made me so uncomfortable, and also it wasn't a good movie. This movie is good. Was I uncomfortable sometimes? Yes, but I feel like more of the time it was like, oh, this is kind of cunty, like, oh, I'm having fun. It was like cheeky. It was like, okay, it's like playful a little bit. Where Fear was like, like no, like just no, like you're sick and you're disgusting for that. The ending of this movie is like a meme. It's a meme now, because the movie does not know how to end. The movie does not know how or when to end, because like I said, there's 3 different parts. There are 3 different points where this movie could end, and where maybe it should have ended. Maybe it should have ended at any of those points, but it doesn't end. You're in the last 5 minutes of the movie. Tell me why there's 8 different plot twists. What are we talking about? What are we talking about right now? And then you finish the movie and you have to try to do mental gymnastics in your brain to connect the parts and be like, wait, how did this happen if that was happening? And you have to like run the whole movie back in your head to try to make sense of what the ending of this movie is. But I was watching it and they were gagging me every single time. I said, like, they got me several times, but did we need to do it? No. This is probably my second favorite movie on the list. This is my second favorite movie that I've watched all year long, and this movie is called Everybody Wants Some. So it is set in the year 1980, and it is about this group of baseball boys, this baseball team at a college in Texas. Okay, and they have their own little like baseball house. They're like frat boys basically, but it's only the baseball team. And it's the weekend before the first day of school, and the whole movie is just like their little antics. They're going out, they're clubbing, they're partying, they're getting to know each other, they're having little ego battles, they're practicing. There's really no plot to it. It just kind of is, it's just a movie about people that are just chilling, they're just living their life. This movie is considered the little brother of Dazed and Confused, I think. But I also watched Dazed and Confused this year, and I like this movie a lot better than that one. Dazed and Confused is not bad, but it's just like, it didn't have the pull for me that this movie had until maybe the last 30 minutes of it. I was invested in the last 30 minutes of Dazed and Confused. I was invested in this movie from the very beginning. Maybe this movie lost me in the last 30 minutes. Maybe that was the trade-off. I just love it. They're just having fun. They're just so cute. This movie's so funny. And it's comforting because there's no real conflict in it. It's just a bunch of dudes chilling out. And they like maybe will argue for like, they'll argue and then like 5 minutes later people are just chilling again. I'm like, this is a vibe. This is good. I like it. I love the boys. The boys are so cool. They're so cute. They're so goofy. I love their outfits.
It's fashion meets it's fashion. Excuse me. It's fashion. It's fashion. Is it wait, what is it? Fashion. It's fashion.
The soundtrack of this movie, so good. So good. Like, I was getting hype. I was feeling it. Everyone in this movie gives such a fun performance, and they're so delightful to see on screen. Like, everyone just, they're so alive, and they're so in their characters, and I really, really love it, and it feels very real. It's very cute. Wyatt Russell is in this movie. And this is, I want to say, the second time that I've seen him play a gay stoner jock in a college movie. First time I saw it was 22 Jump Street. That was his vibe. He was gay with Channing Tatum in that movie, and now in this movie he's gay yet again. He's doing it again. I don't know if that's just his look that he has. They look at him when he comes into the audition and they said, you you are the gay stoner jock, come here, come this way. But he does it every single time. He does it, and he eats that up every single time. He eats it up, and so I support it. I think he should do it more often. I think he should do it again, at least one more time, and I'll eat it up. I love it so much. Also, the post-credits cipher, every single boy gets a verse, and they ate it up. Actually, it was, tell me it's not the most fun you ever had in your life. Tell me it's not the most fun you ever had in your life, and you're lying. You're a liar. It was. But when I finished that movie, I wanted to watch it again, even though it was 3 hours of pure nothingness. I was like, I need to see it again. I need to see it again immediately. And I did watch it again like 2 days later. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I watched Red Eye, starring Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. This whole past year, I've been thinking, what is the Cillian Murphy hype? I don't get it. It's not making sense to me. I look at him and I'm just like, it's not making sense. It's not clicking. I watched this movie. It's clicking. I get it now. I understand it now. It makes sense now. In my head, it makes sense. I get it. I saw it and I knew. So this movie, Rachel McAdams and Cillian Murphy are on a plane together, and at first they're like chilling, they're having fun, okay, but then Cillian Murphy is basically trapping her on the plane. I'm gonna hurt you and I'm gonna hurt your dad if you don't do this thing. So she's trapped on this plane with him, and the majority of the movie takes place on the plane, and it's such a suffocating feeling because she's sitting right next to this man who is just so dangerous. They have really good chemistry. They're very interesting to watch on screen together, and it's like you're kind of captivated by it. You can't look away. You're like, oh, what are they gonna say? That's what's gonna happen next. And then at the end of the movie, she completely girl bosses it up. She takes him down, and the final like fight scene, I guess you could say, in the movie, like the house scene, it goes on for a significant amount of time. There's so much tension in it, and you are like feeling the fear because it's like, okay, she's hiding in the room, but he could be on the other side of the door, or like they're running through the hallways, they're doing this, they're doing that. Ooh, like I felt it. I was right there with her. I was like, oh my god, the suspense of it all. Continuing the 90s, early 2000s thriller suspense vibe, I watched Gossip. So as a future journalist, I consider this to be essential viewing. I read the synopsis for it and I was like, okay, group of journalists in a class and they're making up rumors and they're having a little secret. I said, let me watch. This should be fun. It was fun until it wasn't fun anymore. The main character in this movie, Jones, is such a style icon. Oh my god. I just look at her and I'm like, you're the coolest girl in the world. I want her haircut. I want to be like her. She was doing stupid stuff in the movie though, and I was like, girl, what's wrong with you? But I think that one of the main points of this movie that makes it so interesting is the moral ambiguity of it all, because at the end of the movie there's only really one person that faces repercussions for their actions, even though there are multiple other people in the movie where it's like, okay, well, you did this and that was weird, you did that and that was weird, but they're not facing any complications for it because it's considered like not as bad as what the big bad was. You can't trust anybody watching this movie. You can't trust a single person watching this movie. And at first you're like, oh, all sunshine and rainbows, this is cute, this is fun, we're laughing, we're playing games. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a game, it was so serious. It was good though. I think that the performances were really strong. James Marsden, I might be saying his name wrong, James Marsden, he kills it. Acting wise, he kills it. His character's a little freak though, but he gives a good performance. And I'm like, oh, you kind of gagged me there a little bit. Before my high school graduation, I made this whole list of movies. I think there might be 50 movies on there, of movies that were essential viewing to watch before I enter into true adulthood, before I go to college. And so I watched Boyhood. I had wanted to watch it for such a long time because I had heard about the fact that it was filmed with the same cast over the course of like 12 years, and I just thought that was a really cool concept. And it was so good. In the beginning, the movie had me. They were making me feel lots of things. I was getting all the things in the beginning. I was laughing, I was crying, I was angry, I was frustrated, and I was getting attached to our main character, Mason, which is the boy. He's the boy in Boyhood. I really cared about what was going to happen to him. As the movie goes on, I care a little bit less about Mason, about what's going on with Mason, because his life just gets a little less interesting to watch. But that's kind of the point of life though. You know, like there's the ups, there's the downs. Sometimes your life is banging, it's so interesting, it's so entertaining. Sometimes you're just living and you're just in a daze and you're just moving along to get through the day. And so I think the layer of realism makes even the parts of the movie that aren't so exciting work. There's something really comforting about watching a movie of just people living a life. And so I think that it was really intriguing anyway, even though there wasn't like big crazy things going on. The transitions in this movie also flow really, really well, better than you would think, because it's not always so obvious, like, okay, new time period, okay, new time period, but the little introduction pieces that they use to show you that time has passed actually have a really good effect. And I think that it was really easy to follow along with the movie and like gauge the ages of the characters and what was going on, even without them being like 1 year later, 2 years later. You can tell the time has passed by like the styling of the characters, or like the house they're in, the setting, you know, the way that they're behaving. You can just get it. Ethan Hawke is in this movie. Ethan Hawke plays Mason's dad, and he gives the strongest performance, I would say. From beginning to end, he's giving 110% into this movie. This movie has an awesome soundtrack. Okay, this is the last like maybe 15 minutes of the movie where Mason's driving to college and they start playing Hero by Family of the Year, and they're doing a wide shot of the car. Oh, talk about cinema, that's cinema. It was so good. It was so good, and that song immediately was stuck in my head. Never heard before in my whole entire life, and I heard that and I knew that it was important. I knew that I was like, this is it. This is the moment. I felt it. Let me go. I felt it. This is my favorite movie that I've seen so far in the year. I watched Dead Poets Society. Finally, it's about these group of boys, and they go to this private school that basically is preparing all of the students to go to Ivy League colleges afterwards. So they never really get to have fun or like make their own decisions because their parents are forcing them to go to this school, and you do this and then you can be a doctor. Their whole lives playing out for them, so they never get to think about what they want or how they view the world. And Robin Williams comes, and Robin Williams becomes their English teacher, and he shows them how to form their own opinions and how to verbalize their feelings through poetry, and they create their own little club, the Dead Poets Society. I have known of this movie for a long time, and I've heard about it numerous times, but nothing that I had heard, none of the pictures I've seen, none of the things that I knew about it could have prepared me for what it actually was like to watch this movie, because it was, like I feel it even right now, so intense, so beautiful, so heart-wrenching, that this movie feels like a warm hug, and at the same time it feels like you're standing alone in the coldest, starkest winter of your whole entire life. And it's that feeling of camaraderie, but also that feeling of isolation that's so beautiful. I love everything about it. Ethan Hawke is also in this movie. I didn't do it on purpose, but I had a little Ethan Hawke back-to-back marathon. He's great. He's awesome. He's so good. Everyone in this movie is so good. Just amazing. There's one scene in particular where Ethan Hawke's character, he has really, really bad social anxiety, so he doesn't want to do his poetry assignment where he has to speak in front of the class. So Robin Williams makes him come up and gives him like a little prompt kind of thing and makes him recite a poem in class. And so he closes his eyes as Robin Williams is like spinning him around, and he's coming up with the poem in his head. I cried on the spot. On the spot when he was reciting that poem, I cried because it was so, like I can't even put into words the feelings that I got watching this movie. I just think that this movie is truly incredible. I think that everybody should watch it at least once in their life. I'm like on the verge of tears right now just thinking about it, because it was just so, this is a big deal for me. And you end up feeling so broken and bare at the end of the movie, but you're still filled with a sense of joy somehow. Like joy and hope still exist even after all of the things that happen in this movie. Only problem in this movie, Knox Overstreet, I think is that much. Hate him, delete him, get him away from me immediately. He's a weirdo, and they act like he's not a weirdo. And I need you to think about the fact that he's weird, okay? He's not it.
It's getting weird.